What's up guys, hope you're having a great day. In this video we're looking at some of the biggest NFT mints that are coming up. One of these projects might be the biggest one that we've seen in 2022 so far. Also we're updating on a social experiment that's happening within the NFT space that's very interesting to keep an eye out for. The first one that we're looking at is Imaginary Ones. As we said, one of the biggest projects coming up in 2022, if not the biggest so far. Imaginary Ones, when looking at it, probably gives a lot of the same vibes that we get from Invisible Friends, that of course everybody knows. When looking at Invisible Friends, the mint happened 1.5 weeks ago, which was of course a massive success. Everybody right now looking at Invisible Friends knows what it's all about, and most people in the NFT space will know about Invisible Friends. The team behind it was a very well-established team, experienced in the NFT space already, already ran multiple NFT projects before that did very well, and then the biggest one so far for them was Invisible Friends. Floor price of Invisible Friends is sitting pretty stable at a very high rate as well. With 7.5 Ethereum right now, 1.5 weeks in is of course insane. Already 30k Ethereum traded right now in 1.5 weeks time. Most people that did mint, they were minting for 0.25. They were able to sell it for 12 plus Ethereum on the same day if they wanted to go for a quick flip, which is of course unseen, unheard of in the NFT space. Being able to flip an NFT, buy for 0.25, mint for 0.25, and then sell for 12 to 15. It dropped a little bit after that, as all different ones do. All projects drop a little bit after the initial hype, of course. Now the review has been, but it's holding very stable, very strong, which is always a good indicator, even when the review has been still holding this strong. Floor price sitting at 7.55. And that, of course, makes us looking at Imaginary Ones having very high expectations of this project itself too. It is a project that's built by a team that is very experienced in business, have a big reputation, work with massive clients before already. And there's not a whole lot of news out there yet. We don't have a whole lot of information yet. Mint date, mint price, all not known yet. But they already have a massive following, simply because of the art and the vibe they're giving out. And you know, that's of course still, we don't always want to hear it, but that's one of the, if not the most important factors still in NFTs, right? Which is the vibe and the art. Why? Because that attracts certain type of people, and those certain type of people that get attracted to it will create the community, and the community is still the number one main utility or main factor from an NFT project. Yes, we need utility. Yes, we need like some form of a passive income, or opening up a door to certain, you know, business aspects or certain metaverse aspects, or just being able to use your NFT for other NFT projects, right? There's a lot of different things that a project can do to provide utility. But still, right now, the strongest NFTs in the space are the ones with the strongest communities, and these guys are doing a very good job in creating a certain environment where it attracts high quality people, and high quality people create a high quality community, right? So this is what it's going to look like. Again, it kind of looks similar to Invisible Friends, the vibe that you get for it, the same style, the same art, the same 3D aspect that it has to it. But then I think this, in my opinion, this looks cooler. I think it's a little bit, everyone has a little bit of a different sense to it, but overall the same balloon vibe comes back with all the different ones. I think personally I like this one better than Invisible Friends, but the team behind it kind of does that for me rather than, you know, the actual look of the NFT. So what is the Imaginary Ones? They're in their Discord right now, they have around 70,000 people, even though they have 356,000 followers already on Twitter. As we said, there's no date known yet, there's no price known yet. They're growing very fast. They have a team behind it that, as I said, is very experienced in business, right? So you have Clement, David, Caleb, Gregory, and Jerome are the main guys within their team. All of them have a massive following on Twitter. This is one of them, 43.6. Here's another one, 42.2, 47.1, and 59.2. And then the owner of it, 69.4K, right? So this is the owner, the creator of Imaginary Ones. He's a co-founder of Offset as well. And I don't know what what this is exactly, but this is one of his other businesses. He's very well known in more of the like, he has massive clients that he works with, like Nike, Apple, Samsung, Heineken, Spotify, L'Oreal. So you can imagine what kind of doors is going to open up for him creating this project within the NFT space. Already having clients like this, you can assume, but you're highly convinced that will happen. There are going to be certain types of partnerships set up with massive clients from this project itself as well. And of course, that's going to help the overall future, the roadmap, the floor price of Imaginary Ones. Imaginary Ones, the beginning of the imaginary world vision where ions of all ages dream, learn, and play together. What are ions? Ions is short for Imaginary Ones Nation. The fusion of ions form indestructible energy. That's what the community is about. So that's a little bit of the idea and the vibe behind it. They have another sentence that they talk about, which is from Walt Disney, which kind of again shows the vibe and idea that they want to create. Laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. Walt Disney. When we were young, we dreamed of being superheroes and anything was possible. As time passed, the reality of life robbed us of our ambitions. Sometimes it doesn't seem easy to find a reason to smile. With Imaginary Ones, we dream to reignite that spark again. Bring out the authentic self and step out of your comfort zone. Search back the passion you genuinely enjoyed. Together we can imagine and do great things. Welcome to the imaginary world. Pretty dope, right? Where we learn, dream, and play together, which is awesome. Like that idea behind it, because it's kind of true. When you were younger, you definitely were able to go outside and play as a superhero, and it was like at that moment, it was your reality. You were that superhero. You had those powers, and it was real, right? Eventually, you lose that. You grow up, you get older, and the reality of the world becomes different a little bit, or your own reality becomes different. If they can create a vibe like that where people want to get into Imaginary Ones because they have that feeling again, if they can actually replicate that feeling that you had back then, of course you can imagine how big of a project this will actually be, right? What they have set up is you have a couple of different ways that you can get a whitelist. There is no mint date to be determined and no mint price to be determined as well. As for the whitelist, you are able to get on whitelist right now already with the main factors, the simple ways that we know: giveaways, contests, collabs, and partnerships, and participating in different events. They organize different events or owning one of their NFTs. So the contests that they do is sometimes you have to like draw something. You have to be creative. Definitely not for me, but I know a lot of people in this space are very creative and they want to put time and effort into doing something like this to win a whitelist, right? This is one of them. You have to create you have to use an egg for it. It's like decorate an egg with a theme of love and peace. You take photos of it, you submit it, and then they handpick the winners out of it. So if that's something that you would be into, then yeah, you definitely could, right? You can definitely give that a try. Wouldn't be for me, but I know a lot of people would put in the effort. If you do something like this, you spend an X amount of hours in it and you win the whitelist, that then eventually becomes worth 4, 5, 6 plus Ethereum, definitely worth the time, right? You can also own some of the NFTs of the Genesis art from the owner, from Clementine, from Clement Chia already, which is on foundation.app. These are the ones. Some of them selling for 20 plus Ethereum. This one is sold for 11.5, 9, 11, 12, here 35, 21. The cheaper one is for 2 Ethereum, which is, I guess, doable, 2 or 3 Ethereum. You're able to buy this if you want to. I think you need to put out an offer though. So you need to put out an offer to be able to actually get it. But if you do have it, then you're guaranteed of a whitelist spot. You actually get a double whitelist, if I'm correct, which means that you can eventually mint 2. Well, if you're able to get your hands on a whitelist in this project, I definitely do think that it's going to be worth more than 2 or 3 Ethereum. My expectations are very high, similar to Invisible Friends. So when if that means that you have to pay 2 Ethereum to buy a piece of art now that you can then eventually use for the whitelist, definitely go out and do it, right? The different ways of then getting that whitelist, is here. OG Ions, Genesis art holders, they get a 2x whitelist. So I believe that they will be able to mint 2, and then the general normal whitelisted people, they'll be able to mint 1. That's probably going to be the setup here. There's going to be 8,888 imaginary ones. So if you can get your hands on 2 of these, definitely will be an awesome play, right? We still need to wait for more information on that project itself, considering not a whole lot is known yet, but it's going to be very important to keep an eye out for this when things develop. And in the meantime, potentially, if you can get your hands on a whitelist, definitely go out and try and do it. I think this will be one of the, if not the biggest project that we've seen in 2022 so far, competing with Invisible Friends. Then next up, we have Bobu. Bobu is something that launched yesterday, a new concept from Azuki. Azuki itself is very creative, of course. We already knew that that was the case. So Azuki is, of course, one of the NFT projects that did very well. That came through in a very short time frame, established himself as a sort of a blue chip project. Floor price dropped a little bit compared to yesterday. Yesterday was 10.2, right now sitting at 9.3. Right, 126,000 Ethereum tradable volume already traded until now. They did a Dutch auction a while back when they launched, and then after that, floor price just kept rising and kept rising and kept rising and kept rising. It's one of these projects, as an example, that just does very well steadily over time and continues to rise up, rather than relying on a massive hype and then dying out afterwards. There's like being a steady trend upwards, sometimes a little bit more than others. The floor price rises, the floor price drops a little bit, which is totally fine, right? But considering they're still so new, even if they can get a hold of a 8 Ethereum floor price for now and then eventually rise back up towards 15 plus and then drop to 10, and then, you know, that's still a steady line upwards. A graph never, or upward trend never goes up like this, right? It always goes up like this, and that's what's happening with Azuki. They're creating a proper brand, even though they haven't actually shown anything yet. There's no utility aside from, you know, the community, which again is very strong. Of course, it's important, but they're trying to be very innovative, and that's what they've done with Bobu. They came up with ERC 721A as a like mint solution to decrease gas fee. Now a lot of other projects are using this as well. I think this will be something that's going to be used in the NFT space with other projects too, and they're the ones using it as a social experiment. So what is Bobu? Bobu is like a fractional piece of art or fractional NFT of one of the whole Azukis. So you have Azuki number 40, which is Bobu. That's the one that this experiment is based around, which is this one. It's not necessarily a very rare one. It looks cool. It definitely gives the exact Azuki vibe that you would be looking for within Azuki, but there's nothing very, very special about this one compared to others, right? They just use this one for this experiment. So Azuki 40, and then not everybody has 10 plus Ethereum to get in on this project, right? A lot of people would want to get into Azuki, but they can't because it's too expensive for them. So what they've now done is they created Bobu, where you're able to get a fraction of it from this NFT, and then you're a semi-owner, I guess, or now you have a piece of Azuki number 40, Bobu, the bean farmer, right? So the floor price right now, it's actually dropping a little bit again. This launched yesterday. You were able to get in for 0.01 Ethereum, but there was a lot of hype around it. It was quite a lot of gas fee. I got one. I just want to see how this goes. Not necessarily because I think that I can make a whole lot of money out of it, because I don't think you can make a whole lot of money out of this, but it'll be cool to see the progression of this, right? So there's 15,003.3 owners that are participating in this. Some hold a lot more than others, and some hold a lot less. But the cool thing with this is, I think this will be something that we're going to be seeing in the real estate sector as well, right? So this is a social experiment. Now people that don't have as much money to get into Azuki, they can. It will open up doors for them to get into private sections in their Discord that you usually only get into when you have an Azuki, and now you're able to get in by having a Bobu NFT, right, or fraction of it. So what does that mean? Now you're able to access all the elite things that people were able to access only by buying a very expensive NFT for 30,000 plus. What I think this is gonna transition into is, for example, real estate. I think that that's gonna be a massive play in this. Why? Because people don't always have for example, money to buy a whole house, but they do want to get into real estate, right? You already have certain ways that you can invest into property by not buying a whole house, but paying a certain amount of money. And then you're able to have a certain piece of real estate. You own a certain piece of real estate. I think that this exact system will be used in NFTs. There's going to be a NFT, which is going to be the ownership of a property. You send through the ownership of the property by sending through an NFT, right? You make a transaction, you make a deal on that. Sometimes people might want to get into a certain piece of real estate, but they can't buy the whole NFT, they can't buy the whole property. So they will buy a fraction of it, and now they're classed as a real estate investor, even with a very small bit of investment. Price goes up, your investment goes up. Price goes down, your investment goes down. There will be ways of having certain passive income here too, because now you get a fraction of the rent that comes through. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this will play out in the NFT space. I know that there's people that are very excited about it and people that are not as excited about it. Funny thing is that the floor price of Azuki hasn't really changed because of it. It actually went down a little bit. So not necessarily because people aren't happy with it. It might just go down, because it just goes down every once in a while a little bit, because people buy up the floor, people buying the floor, people are listing lower, undercutting each other. There's no real big movement on the floor price yet, but it hasn't jumped up because of this either. So it's not like people are super bullish on the whole Azuki itself because of this, and I think it'll do a whole lot. So there's people that say that this is going to be very good for exposure, very good for their brand awareness and creating their brand, and some people think that it won't really matter and that eventually there's nothing that's going to change, nothing's going to happen. So this is very cool to keep an eye out for and to see how the progression goes and to see whether there's going to be an effect on Azuki itself, an effect on Bobu itself, or whether it kind of ends up being, not that much of a movement. That'll be interesting. And then lastly, what I want to talk about in this video today is MetaMansion. This is happening on the 18th for whitelist and on the 19th for public. Very interesting project to keep an eye out for. I want to do a separate video on this where I'm going to go in a lot more depth on MetaMansions. Where you were allowed to give out 12 whitelists in our Discord for MetaMansions. They're going to release the MetaMansions. It's part of the of a project that's been out there already, which is part of this, the Keys token official. So they have their own metaverse, they're creating a metaverse. You have a lot of different elements in this project which is related to metaverse, the real estate, and it's going to be a very high utility project the way they talk about it. There's 0.88 Ethereum mint though, so it's pretty damn expensive to get in on this. It's a pretty expensive mint to get in on this. They have done a video of an hour long where they explain everything behind it, and they explain about why the mint price is so expensive. I think that they should have lowered the mint price if you look at the market a little bit right now, but they have done a video where they explain everything about it, every element about it, why it is so expensive and how they feel like they can justify this. In my opinion, the only reason why they can justify it is because the key cards that you're able to buy has a floor of 17 Ethereum. So because that floor is that high already, you can buy keys, right, to be able to get whitelisted. So for you to be able to get onto the whitelist, you need to get these keys, or that's one of the ways that you can get whitelisted. If you hold a million plus keys, then you get the member. And member is able to mint 18 MetaMansions. Also means 18 times 0.88 Ethereum, right? If you hold 500,000 to a million, you're a whale and you can mint up to 8 MetaMansions, or you just have to basic grind it out and get onto, invite friends and be active in the chat to get whitelist. The reason why they've done such an expensive one is, well, to get a million keys to be able to be member, that means you need a million times the current price of these keys is sitting at 8.8 cents. So that's semi-doable, I guess, right? It makes sense if you're really into this project, and then having a million keys is not as expensive, right? But having a key card with a floor of 17 Ethereum, that's the main reason why the mint is so expensive. But there's so many different elements to this project. There's so much to it that I do think it can do very well over the longer term. So, the Keys token itself is a real estate based cryptocurrency project. Going to be running on the Ethereum blockchain. And there's such a long roadmap. There's so many elements to it with different types of NFT releases. They have their own metaverse creating. There's going to be an asset exchange app. There's going to be a rental app. The team is doxed. It's filled up with young entrepreneurs. I think 6 founders, team of 6 founders, and they have a massive overall team itself already of more than 70 people in it. So the team itself is huge that's working behind it. So I think that they're putting a lot of time and effort into this project to make sure that they build out something massive, and they've already worked with companies before. So the meta mention eventually will be a set in the Keys metaverse, which is going to be their metaverse, and it's partnered with Genius Ventures. They're going to build it, and they have already helped different projects create have experience with creating certain elements of different projects out there, like companies as Microsoft, as Adidas, as Honda, where they've been able to implement AR and VR for them. So the team behind it is definitely experienced working with massive companies before already. They're going to be using Unreal Engine 5 for that visual experience that's going to be in there, which is definitely something to keep an eye out for as well. I'm going to be doing a video on this somewhere over the next week, so do make sure that you keep an eye out for this video, because there's going to be a lot of different features in that video where I'm going to talk about why I believe that this is going to be a good investment even with a 0.88 Ethereum mint. I definitely think it can be a flip, but it can also be a good long-term hold depending on where you're at. Also, we're going to be looking at the whole white paper of this project and going through a lot more depth with it. But yeah, I think that this is definitely something to look out for, that's going to help us at the longer term within the whole metaverse space and a whole metaverse real estate sector. That's definitely going to be a big thing in the future. So that's all I have for you guys for updates for this video. Please, lastly, before you leave, if you just hit the subscribe button and bell notification, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.